Hello, everybody. Hello. Hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome. My name is Clara Planson. I am the Marketing and Communication Manager here at Beekast. And today I'm going to be showing you what's new in Beekast. So the aim of this webinar is really to show you how our interface has evolved recently. Some of you actually may have already spotted a few changes, particularly in your workspace or directly in the session creation area. So anyways, we'll take a look together and I'll also be available to answer any questions you may have along the way. So to make sure to write any questions, comments, or concerns directly in the chat in Livestorm. And I'll make sure to answer any questions you may have. All right. Waiting a little bit, letting everyone get here. And we're going to be able to start off. All right, perfect. So first things first, one good thing to know is that when we make changes in Beekast, we base it off on your feedback. So through the various interactions we may have with you over months and years or weeks, it can be through our live chat or our customer meetings. And basically, it's an opportunity for us to take note of your observations, any feedback you may have, but also your needs. And so as you can see in this slide, our aim is just really to make Beekast as easy to use as possible and to give you the best experience on the tool. So today, that's why I have about 7 features that we're going to discover together. And I'm going to talk about features that have evolved, for example, like the SSO button, our help and resources, also some buttons like create and import a session. We're also going to look at some novelties when it comes to, for example, the join a session banner, but also co-hosting. We have a new way to add co-facilitators to your Beekast session. So I'm going to show you that. And also some quick changes in the interface that you may have noticed, like the settings and results buttons that have changed slightly. All right. So let's start with the session banner. So, and you'll have to excuse me for this French title right here. That's something that can happen sometimes. And so to start us off with the join a session banner, we now have a new way for you to invite participants to join your session. So this is supposed to make it a lot easier for people that would want to join a session. And I'm going to show you right now how this works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going on, here we go, our Beekast website. And as you can see, when you reach our homepage, this is the first place you get to when you look for our website, you now have a banner at the top part of your screen. This is the join a session banner that I've been talking about. And so the way that it works is that any participant that you may want to invite to join your session will be able to join the session via the session code. So in order to generate a session code, that's very simple. I'm going to show you now. Here we go. I can just go back to this slide right here. And as you can see, there are many ways that you can join a session. You can scan the QR code. You can go to my.beekast.com and enter the session code. And this session code right here, that's what's interesting to us. So the way that you're going to generate this as a Beekast user, as a facilitator, for example, when you're creating your Beekast session, here I am on my Beekast session as the owner and so main facilitator of this Beekast session, I can go ahead and click on the share button. And then as you can see, I will have my session code available right here. So I can share, I can copy this session code and share it with people who may want to join my session. And so if I just click here, if I want to join the session, all that's left for me to do is go ahead and paste the code that I was given and click on the join button. And immediately I will be sent to the Beekast session as a participant. So of course, what you're seeing here is still the facilitator, the owner's session space just because I am connected with I am logged into my Beekast account. So of course this is my session, but for you, if you were to join this Beekast session, you would join as a everyday participant. So you wouldn't be able to change the slides, create anything, add a slide or anything like that, but you will be able to join in on activities and participate and add things in our discussion space, for example. All right, so what's interesting about this new feature, and let me show you right now, let me hop back here. So what's interesting about this new feature is that it's available on our homepage. And I'm just going to refresh here. All right, I may be having a little bit of a connection issue, but that's okay. Those are things that happen. So yes, what's great about the Join a Session banner is that it's available on the homepage of our website, like I just showed you, but it's also available on the login page. So when you're logging into your account, you will also have this banner now made available to you, and we'll see that right after. And finally, it is available in your Beekast workspace. So whenever you join your Beekast just general workspace, this is the place that you get to first when you log into your Beekast account, you will automatically have the join a session banner made available to you. And I can show you this right now. It is available right here. So here I am in my general workspace, and I can join a session directly via the workspace. All right, perfect. I'm just checking to see if there are any questions. I don't see any right now. It sounds pretty clear, but of course, if you do have questions, feel free. That's what I'm here for as well. All right, so now let's talk about our other novelty, or may I say evolution, because this is something that we've already had, but that we made even better. And it's our SSO login button. So just for those who may not be familiar with the term, SSO means single sign-on, and it is a simplified connection between Beekast and your company. So let me just get to the next slide. All right. So as you can see, we have made the SSO button a lot more visible and easier to access. I'm going to use the pointer to show you guys right here. And this is really important for people who may have a Beekast account thanks to their organization. So just a quick reminder, this is once again a simplified connection between Beekast and your company, allowing you to access Beekast directly via your professional login, also known as your professional email, for example. So generally speaking, this is something that will be implemented on the enterprise models, since it means that Beekast is deployed at the organization level. So for those of you here today with me that may have a smaller plan when it comes to your Beekast subscription, you will not have access to the single sign-on login. But if you're interested in that, and if you are a bigger organization with a bigger need in terms of people who can access a Beekast account, I highly recommend getting SSO. It's an extremely fast and convenient way to access your Beekast account. And you won't even need to have a password because you'll simply be able to connect via your professional login. So that is something that we have done recently with our SSO button. So for anyone here that has the tendency, the habit to log in with SSO, you will now have this button that is just way more visible and easier to access directly on our login page. All right, so now I also wanted to talk more about your workspace. And here we also made a couple changes, in particular to help you access our resources more easily. So you used to be able to access our resources by clicking on your profile. So you would click right here on this little profile right here, so you can see my picture. And by clicking on this, you would access for example, your personal settings, your profile settings, but you would also be able to access our help and resources. And so this was a little hidden. We didn't think that we got a lot of feedback of people telling us, well, you have great resources, but I can never find them. And so it was really important for us to make sure that our help and resources, all of that information was made available to you in a much more accessible and easy way. So what we did is we just moved our help and resources button outside of the profile, and it is now right next to the left of your profile. So by clicking on that little question mark, you'll have access to different types of resources, and you can access our inspiration website. So this is our site dedicated to all of our templates we have on Beekast. So if you're looking for a specific template, if you're looking to get started on Beekast quickly, I highly recommend you look into our templates and our inspiration website. You can also access our help center if you have any questions, if you're finding it a little difficult to do something on Beekast, and if you're looking for the answer to your Beekast training needs, if you want to kind of get trained on Beekast pretty independently, actually, I recommend our Beekast Academy. So we've also made that available to you. For those of you who don't know, we offer a Beekast Academy. These are free training courses, pretty short as well, that allow you to really learn how to use Beekast in every possible way. We show you all of our activities, what they do, how to use them. We give you the basics of Beekast. This is a 1-hour course where at the end, you even get your own little certification. So you get to share your Beekast certificate on LinkedIn, for example. And it's just a great way to show people that you know how to use this tool and you are Beekast savvy, if you will. And then, of course, we also have more general resources for you guys. So we're sharing our webinars like this one on replays. And then we have our Beekast articles for anyone that's interested in learning more about efficient meetings, collaboration, hybrid formats, lean management, things like that. So we have a lot of articles for you regarding everything Beekast is about. And so, yeah, this is a great space if you're looking to get as much information about Beekast as possible. And so I really think that making this help and resources icon a lot more accessible and visible will help people, and I hope help you get more out of your Beekast experience. And of course, to make this even easier, I created a little tutorial for you guys right here. So in this slide, as you can see, we are now in our workspace and we'll be able to get all of the latest news on Beekast. So what's changed? As you can see, we have our join a session banner. So that's done. We've seen that already. When it comes to your files and sessions, there are no changes here. So it's just business as usual. And you can find everything as easily as ever. You'll also be able to contact our support team right here. So this hasn't changed, but we have made the button slightly more visible as well. So if you have a question, don't even hesitate. Go ahead and access the live chat by clicking on this little button. And you can access this in your workspace, but also directly in a session when you're creating it. So this button is always made available to you if you have any questions and want to chat with us in real time. And then we have our little question mark right here, as you can see. So this is our help and resources button. And we have kind of moved a new button, which has always existed. This is a feature that a lot of our users love to use, and it is our import a session feature. So for those of you who may not know, with Beekast, you have the ability to import a session, which means that instead of starting from scratch, you can use a session that someone else has created. And you can be the owner of that session, which allows you to add on to it, change it, add slides, add activities, or even delete activities if needed. So you have complete ownership of the session you import. And so in order to import a session, this used to be a little hidden. You used to have to go into create a session, and then it was at the top right part of the screen that would pop up when you would create a session, and it was kind of hidden, and it would just be import a session, and then you'd have your import code. This made it very hard for new users to even know that this feature was available to them. And so what we did is we just created this button right next to the create a session. So you can either start from scratch by creating a session, or you can import a session, and this time that means that you'll be able to use a session that already exists. In order to get the import code, I'm going to show you right now how this works. So here I am in my session once more. Let's say that I have this webinar, right? And you want to use it in your company to train or even just notify your colleagues of all the news happening in Beekast. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to force you to redo all of these slides. I'm not going to send you the slides and then you have to import them into your own Beekast session. We're going to do something a lot simpler, which is that I'm going to go in my settings. So up here, I'm going to click on settings, and then in my general overview, I can scroll down, and as you can see, I have the session import code. And so I can share this code with you, with any other user, to import your session and its contents. So all I have to do is click on generate and import code, and then I can copy it. And then in my sessions, I can go ahead and click on import a session. I can paste it and I can import. Let me just refresh. All right, so then I can click on import a session and import, and that's where the magic happens. So as you can see, I now have all of the slides, I have the activities, I have everything ready to go, and I am the owner of that session. So this is a great feature for those of you who are looking to save time, who want to work in a more dynamic and collaborative environment with your team. And I highly recommend you use this feature because you'll see it's just a lifesaver when it comes to duplicating formats and sharing best practices when it comes to your presentations. You may have an absolutely great meeting template, and that's a way with the import code, you can just share that meeting template with everyone in your organization, your team, whoever you want. So a great feature, and that we have tried to make even more visible for you. All right. And then moving on, the create a session has slightly evolved as well. So before, creating a session could be a little more complicated. There were a little more steps. What we've done is simply simplified the entire process. So now if I were to show you in my Beekast workspace how to create a session, let me do that right now. So now what I can do is just click on create a session, choose what kind of control I want on the session. Do I want it to be synchronous in facilitator mode, or do I want it to be asynchronous in participant mode? And what I can do is just click on next, give my session a title. So say new presentation. Of course, as always, I can personalize this a little bit, and then I can click on create, and I will automatically be able to start creating my session and adding activities and slides, etc. So super easy. It's really just a 3-click process, and that as well has evolved. All right. And now moving on to our final part of this webinar. Let me just check very quickly in Livestorm if anyone has any questions. All right. No, I think we're good. I don't see any questions. If anyone does have anything to add, feel free. I'll be happy to answer. All right. So moving on to our final 2 novelties or evolutions that I want to talk about today. And the first one is co-hosting. So now that we're in a Beekast session here, as you can see, here I am in my kind of creator space. This is my Beekast session when I'm the owner. I have 2 new features. And when it comes to co-hosting, some of you or co-facilitating, however you want to call it, some of you may not be familiar with that term. So let me just give you a brief definition. Basically, on Beekast, you can invite people to co-facilitate with you. So when you create a session, you are by default the owner and therefore the facilitator of that session. You are the person who can add slides, delete them, create activities, access results, access the settings of your session, change those settings, just everything. You have complete control over your session. And when you invite people to join your session, they will by default be participants. So with that role, they don't have the same rights as you. For example, they can't create or delete slides, they can't open or close your session, and they surely can't access your session's results or settings. On the other hand, you can invite people to join your session as a co-host or a co-facilitator. This means that these people will have access to your session's information. So they'll be able to set up your presentation, add slides, create activities. They can also access some of your settings and results, but they will not, for example, be able to download reports or meeting minutes. So that's something that you as sole proprietor of your session can do. But co-facilitators are great because they can help you move quickly, create slides. They're also great if you're looking for a moderator. Having a moderator when you're doing, for example, hosting a big event with Beekast is great. And your moderator can be a co-facilitator and therefore have access to change your slides, to showcase comments, things like that. So it's actually a great way to collaborate with members of your team on Beekast and kind of build and co-create presentations together. And so, as you can see, our goal was really making co-facilitation a lot more accessible. Here before, for those of you who may have used co-facilitation, in the old days now, well, you would have to go into your settings. And in those settings, you would have a little space dedicated to co-facilitators. And so then you would have had to add the email. So it was a kind of a longer process. Once again, this really cool feature was a bit hidden away in the settings. And so what we wanted to do was just make this a lot more accessible to you. Once again, less clicks and more efficiency. So the way this works is now all you have to do is share your presentation, which makes sense, right? You're sharing it to someone who's going to access your Beekast session. So by clicking on the share, you will see that you have all the information that you've always had. You have the ability to open and close your session. By the way, this is just a quick little parenthesis, but your session is now by default open with our latest changes and evolutions. So you may have noticed this, but before, when you created a Beekast session, your session was by default closed. And so you had to open it. And some feedback that we had a lot was people telling us, well, I forgot to open my session. I shared it to everyone on my team and no one was able to participate. And I felt a little bit, silly because I would have to tell people, oops, sorry, didn't actually open the session, so no one can access it. And to avoid these little glitches, I guess you could call them, we have changed it so that your session is open by default. So just remember that if you want to make your session inaccessible to any users, you will have to close it. So as always, you can also just share your presentation by a link. You can copy the link, or you can use the session code by copying the session code. And what's new here is this part, the co-facilitators. So in order to add a co-facilitator, all you'll have to do is click on this little add button, and then you can invite whoever you want to join in as a co-facilitator, and they will immediately be able to access your Beekast session, change slides, create activities, things like that. So it's really great, and it's a lot easier now. And I hope we'll get a lot of feedback on this, because we're looking forward to people telling us what they think of these little changes that we've made. Final thing I want to walk you through are two new icons. So before, when you were in your creator space, if I show you right now, so before, you would have 3 spaces right here, and this would change your entire session view. So if you clicked on presentation, you would have this view. If you clicked on results, you would have your results overview. And then if you clicked on settings, you would have all of your Beekast settings. What was a little complicated is that people would have a hard time switching from one to the other. They would get a little bit lost. And it just didn't make sense, because Beekast is first and foremost a creation. It's creative space, right? And so we wanted people to have an easier time making the difference between their presentation mode, creating the presentation, and accessing the results and settings. So what we did is, as you can see, this is gone. You have nothing in the middle of at the top center of your screen. But what you do have is your settings are now available here and your results are available here. So these are the two new little icons that are just next door to your share button. And if I were to click on this, I now have a little window that pops up. So it's a lot easier, better to view, and I have access, as always, to all of my settings. So this hasn't changed. Your setting space hasn't changed. Nothing really new here. I can actually still add facilitators if I wanted directly in my settings. So for those of you who want to do it the old-fashioned way, which is also great, you can still add facilitators here. And if you want to access your results, you can go here. And as always, you'll get an overview of your session, how it went, how many people, how many participants you gathered. You can also see activities. So here I don't have any, but I can actually show you. I think I can show you right here. Let's see. Do I have any activities? Yes, I do. Perfect. So if I were to go in results, I would have the pin on image activity because that's an activity that I added to my session. So all of your activities will be here and you'll be able to click and get even more statistics and results linked to your activity. And last but not least, because this is also a very important feature, this is also the space where you can generate meeting notes. You can also export a PDF of your session. So you'll be able to automatically generate the PDF of your session with all of the activities, the slides, what was said, things like that. And if you're looking to get more into the data and the results, you'll be able to export everything in an Excel format. So once again, this is all in your results tab, and you'll be able to generate all of the reports that you want directly here. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this was clear, that you enjoyed this webinar. This is kind of a new format that we'll be doing from now on. We'll try to bring you guys just everything that's happening in Beekast, give you more regular updates in this webinar format so that if you have any questions, we can answer live and we can also kind of get your feedback in real time. And speaking of upcoming webinars, I have one last slide that I want to share with you, which is our next webinar. So we'll be talking about how to turn ideas into actions, our best practices. So basically, this is a way for us to tell you more about our actions and decisions feature, which is a feature that a lot of our users love, but also a lot of our users don't know this feature and aren't using it yet. So it's really great. I'm excited to tell you more about it. It's particularly important if you're doing project management, if you're interested in lean management, in building efficiency within your team. So we'll look into some of these best practices. I'll give you some tips and tricks when it comes to project management within Beekast. And so if you're looking to boost your skills in action planning and project management, thanks to Beekast, this is the webinar for you. So you can go ahead and register. I'm going to share the link with you actually directly in the chat. All right, here we go. Perfect. So if anyone wants to sign up to our upcoming webinars, feel free to do that. You have the link directly in the Livestorm chat, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. And I hope you have an excellent day here in Paris. It's the end of the day, but for some of you everywhere else in the world, it may be lunchtime or just back to work. So hope you guys have an excellent rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for a whole new webinar. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.